Good afternoon. We're convening the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts on our 1 p.m. agenda here in State Capitol Conference Room 225. We have a number of nominees up for potential hearing and confirmation today. We'd ask everyone to be concise, make sure your written testimony has been submitted, which we have already for those who've signed up to testify. We'll be asking folks to limit their testimony, with the exception of the nominees themselves, to 1 minute to make sure that we have time to get through all the nominees and all the testifiers. For everyone wishing to testify, how we're going to do this is we'll hear each governor's message. We'll hear from the public and go through the public testimony. And if there's questions, folks are going to be able to ask those questions of those testifiers, and then we'll hear from the nominee themselves and repeat the process. So with that, let's begin with Governor's Message 788, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Sister State and International Partnerships Commission gubernatorial nominee Karen Knudsen for a term to expire 6/30/2030. And testifying first on GM 788 is the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Lee and Senator Inouye. Dennis Ling with the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, which stands in strong support of this GM for consideration and confirmation of Karen Knudsen to serve in the Hawaii Sister State and International Partnership Commission. As you know, the Commission reviews proposals for new sister states and international partnerships and establishes the criteria for proposed partnerships, and they support DBET in its international relations outreach. Karen Knudsen, for 4 decades, has extensive Asia-Pacific experience, 30 years at the East-West Center, where she led major international conferences and worked closely with government officials. Upon her retirement from the East-West Center, Karen served as an adjunct senior fellow, remains active on the East-West Center Board of Directors and the East-West Center Association of Executive Committee. She also is chairman of the board of the Japan-America Society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify on GM 788. Is there anyone else wishing to testify this afternoon? Okay, if not, are there any questions?
Oh, yeah, maybe, I'm sorry. Can DBET come up again? Sorry. The sister state relationship
Yes.
was done not too long ago, right?
With who?
The commission itself,
Oh,
or
the
the
commission.
sister state.
Yes, the commission was established last year.
Correct.
It was changed
Okay.
from a committee to a commission. And the previous committee was abolished. So we're
Okay.
now bringing a new commission before the Senate.
Okay, so with that change, we had a commission already established, right? Under the old,
Right, we had a committee established, yes.
okay, but they're still serving, and now it's called the sister state?
No, that committee was abolished. So
Okay,
this is the replacement for it, a commission that they've established.
Okay, but we're only allowing, according to what we have before us on the GMs, only 2 members. Are we limiting the commission?
No, these are the 2 members appointed by the governor. The chair, Senate chair of the International Relations Committee is ex officio. The chair of the International Relations Committee of the House is ex officio. And the appointees by the Senate President and the House Speaker are also appointed, but they don't have to go through confirmation. There is another governor appointee coming from OHA, but they have yet to release
Release the name.
the nominee's
So
name.
how many members then, aside from the other ones that you already identified?
5.
Because you're saying it's non-voting members.
Yeah, so there's 5 voting members.
Okay,
2, yeah.
so 5 voting members, so vacancy, OHA, where's the other 2 coming from?
Oh, the other two?
Because you only have two to start off the commission, right? The
Yeah,
voting members.
Yeah, but we have already two sitting voting members.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, they're appointed by the House and the Senate, and they don't need to go through confirmation.
That's
Yeah, it's the,
That's interesting.
it's the governor's
So,
appointees.
Okay, so
that
this
need
new
to-
state commission on International Partnership Commission, it's 5 members then, voting?
5 members
Okay,
voting.
so 2 already are in place from the speaker and the president?
Yes,
They don't have to come to the.
for confirmation.
For confirmation. So these 2 are the first one before this body?
First two, yes,
Okay,
before.
and then there's a vacancy from
And there is a
OHA that hasn't
vacancy.
been filled.
That's correct.
Okay, do you know if they already came up with a name that's submitted to the governor?
The name that they submitted to the governor, we were moving along, but the person declined to serve because of a conflict of interest.
Okay, now the person appointed by OHA doesn't necessarily mean to be, but that's a voting member, right?
That would be a
Okay,
voting
okay,
member,
so it's
yes.
not a member of the OHA administration then, it's outside their recommendation.
Well, it could be. I don't think it precludes anybody from the OHA board or
Okay, well, I'm kind of surprised
administration.
because OHA has been trying to get into boards and commissions, as you know, from the administration side. And yet, when it comes to other commissions, they've kind of delayed and we hope that they fill the positions.
Yeah, we hope so too,
Okay.
because it
All right,
helps to get
well,
quorum.
Well, good luck, and
Thank
I
you.
do know Ms. Knudsen, and I think she's done a fabulous job in her role, in her prior activities and qualifications. I think she's a perfect match for this.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right, thank you. Thanks, Chair, sorry.
Any other questions? Hearing none, why don't we bring the nominee up?
Aloha.
Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that, and thank you, committee. It is indeed an honor to be nominated to this position, and I hope, should I be passed along and approved, I hope to do a good job for the state of Hawaii. Do you want a longer statement? I don't think I need to do a long one.
Entirely up to you.
I am, as Dennis said so kindly, I've spent 40 years nearly, a little bit more if you can include my Peace Corps volunteer
Right.
experience. And I'm very excited to be part of this. Hawaii has so much potential, and I look forward to working with all of you, including Senator Chang and others. Thank you.
Can I ask
Please.
something?
Sure.
Yes, and thank you for your service, your history, and you've done just wonderful in your volunteerism and the work that you did. However, now we're going into the sister state relationships. I'm just kind of wondering what the effect, and maybe Dennis can answer that as well, because the counties also do relationships with foreign countries. So I guess, I guess when we look at sister state, so it's within our state, because on the county's relationship, we don't get involved, right?
That's correct, yes. However, the relationship with the state, a lot of times set the basis for the relationship with the cities. So it serves as an entree for that relationship.
Okay, so with those that we already have relationship, like Taipei and some in Japan already, a sister state, so all of those will remain
Yes,
because
yes,
it's technically a already established
Yes,
relationship.
yes.
Okay, so this commission will then look at the Pacific region. As I read, the role is to probably, I guess, connect into establishing a relationship.
Yes, looking at new relationships that might be appropriate for the state to enter into.
What happened to the budget that covered the original commission? Because now it seems like you're doing a lot more. And so how's your budget?
Well, There was no budget for the previous committee. There is no budget for this commission. We use whatever funding we get for BED 101, which is the
Okay.
Office of International Relations, and we fund from there. So there's no specific for
Okay.
the commission.
All right. Okay, good luck.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. May I mention one thing? While my primary background has been in the Asia-Pacific
Yes.
region, I think we also have a relationship, I think, with Morocco,
Mm-hmm.
the city in Morocco, and outside just the Asia-Pacific region. So we may occasionally be looking at something outside, so, but it's also nurturing the existing sister state relationships.
Right.
In addition to looking at.
Well,
future ones.
why I mentioned about the budgeting items, because now you're going internationally, and I'm just curious to see how you're going to manage getting the initial invitation, so-called, but I guess with communications now, you can always go on, virtual communications, I guess.
Yes. I think there are ways that we can make sure that we communicate properly with our counterparts and colleagues overseas, either digital or face-to-face meetings, which a lot of them come into town. And when we have government groups going out of town to visit those places, they make the communications link.
Was there any reason why we didn't include as part of a non-voting member HDA on the board?
I think it's broader than, well, I don't know. That
Okay,
was
all right.
up to the legislature.
Well, you're part of DBED, so
Yeah.
you can be in charge of tourism and everybody else. Thank you. I don't want to delay this meeting anymore. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
Thank you,
Dennis.
everybody. Any further questions? None? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator.
All right, let's move on to the next GM 789, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Sister State and International Partnerships Commission, gubernatorial nominee Wesley Fong for a term to expire 6/30/2030. And testifying first on GM 789 is DBED.
Yes, aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, Senator Chang and Descartes. Yes, DBED stands in strong support of this GM. Wes Fong, has served his country so much. We owe him a great debt of service, and now he's serving his community here in Hawaii in many ways. And he has strong background in the military, staff judge advocate for the U.S. Army Japan, worked closely with international and multinational partners on legal matters, deputy commander of the Pacific Liaison Command, and many distinctions, including the Legion of Merit, Bronze Stars, and Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. And beyond his military service, which we thank him very much for his service again, is his knowledge of international trade. And we respectfully request your favorable consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question instead of him going back and chair? While
Yeah,
he's
but
here?
he's the
Just short.
only person who signed up to testify, so
Okay,
please feel free.
And we thank Mr. Fong for his volunteerism on this issue. However, Mr. Fong is on the State Ethics Commission.
Yes.
You cannot serve on any state boards 2 times. If you're on one commission, you cannot serve on another commission. So have you researched?
Simultaneously, yes.
Yes, have
And,
you researched that if he's, or maybe we can,
Yes,
why don't we, you can go ahead and continue, stay here. Mr. Fong, yeah, you can call him up then.
Thank you. First of all, anyone else wishing to testify on GM 789? Hearing none. Okay. Mr. Fong, please come forward. Congratulations on your
Yeah,
nomination.
congratulations.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you so
Chair.
much.
Thank
We're
you very
proud
much,
that we
Senator.
have your status on the commission.
Well, thank you. To answer your first question, I resigned as of the 20th of this month in regards to
Oh,
there'll be no
okay,
conflict.
last week then, or a couple
I found
weeks.
out I cannot serve until,
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah, so I said no. And it's not fair to the Ethics Commission. I've been there 8 years. And I said, elect a new chair and at the same time carry on, so you don't have to wait to see if I get confirmed on this commission.
Okay.
But I want to thank the governor for this opportunity to continue my state service.
Sure.
So.
And you were on the AG's
I
office,
was-
what year?
So I'm gonna let him, if there's anything else you'd like to add for yourself, feel free, and then we can get into Q&A.
Oh, I can give my spiel. Oh, real quick. Okay. I don't know if all of you have read my bio. I mean, I've been around the block a couple of times, so I have gray hair. At least I have hair. But anyway, but actually, when the governor found out that my tenure at this Ethics Commission was running out in June, he said he wanted me to continue my service. I said, more than happy, if it fits within my qualifications that I can benefit the state. And looking at the mission of the commission, which basically is to review, to evaluate, initiate international agreements, as long as it benefits the state either, I think it's economically, diplomatically, educationally, and also culturally. I said, I think I can fit in there because of my background, both professional, military, and international community. Let me just go through it real quick. Besides the fact that I'm retired from the military as a staff judge advocate for the United States Army Japan, I'm very familiar with Japan. I've been also actually assignments in Thailand, in Korea, and of course Vietnam, which wasn't too pleasant when people are shooting at you, but that's another story. But at the same time, I have also experience in other aspects of, as you mentioned, I was a supervising deputy attorney general for the state of Hawaii, so I'm very familiar with the state, and also charge of litigation at corporation county level. But I also now teach at the university, and I teach at the Tim School, travel industry management for the last, good gravy. I just saw one of my students, I feel so old, 23 years.
Well, that's good, that's tourism.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's it. And actually, the reason why I say it's important was, having read the mission of this particular commission, one of my goals, if I'm confirmed, I like to push the University of Hawaii and promote the University of Hawaii, and also the products that we may have here in Hawaii, like coffee. I heard that we may be running out too much, we don't have that much coffee, but I just came back from Japan, and if you want to make a good friend, just give them a bottle of Macallan's, right? Single malt whiskey, and a bag of 100% Kona coffee. So I like to, it's a two-way street. They want to be partners with us, but what does they offer us? So when I mentioned the fact that I teach at the University of Hawaii, in my class I have 60. 1/3 of my class is outside the state of Hawaii. And most of them are from the Indo-Pacific region. Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Malaysia. I even have one from Tibet, and all different parts of the Indo-Pacific. And to me, these are the leaders of the future for us in tourism and also in economy. Maybe we can learn from them later. But at the same time, what it amounts to is it generates revenue. For those of us who, went to the University of Hawaii, if you're out of state, you pay $30,000, in-state's $10,000. That's generated a lot of revenue. On the other side of the fact is that also in my international community, I have a Rotary Club that has sister clubs in Taipei. I have Kyoto, Nagoya, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Makati West, the Philippines. For the last 50 years I've been a Rotarian, we've had many joint service projects to promote friendship, etc. As a matter of fact, most recently we had supported a eye clinic in Zhongshan, China, and that's one of my pets. I've been traveled, and I'm a past president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, so I know a lot about China. And we just finished a project supporting a school for the disabled in Hanoi, Vietnam. At least this time they're not shooting at me, but again. So I believe in this commission to go beyond just an agreement, because to me, if it doesn't benefit Hawaii, why are we doing it? I mean, I'm very pragmatic about it. Everybody wants to visit Hawaii, okay? But at the same time, hopefully I can contribute to the mission. And to me, being a 30-year military, anything that helps me promote peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific, I'll do it. And I think agreements are very important. Let me give you one last example. When I was the president of the Chinese Chamber, when I had finished my tenure, an organization from China, they call them an NGO, but they're all related to the government, asked me to invite retired generals and admirals to visit China so that we could establish a friendship and also an understanding, not only between the countries, but our military. It was very successful. It stopped just before the pandemic. So again, I've had my war. That was 35 years ago. Anything that can help the stability and also the peace in the region, like these agreements. And what better place in Hawaii, the crossroad of the Pacific, and also the center of our military power in the Indo-Pacific. I'm for it, and I hope I can be an asset.
Just one more question.
Senator Inoue.
Yes. You'll probably be one of the best advisors for Mayor Blangiardi. Help him to get the Chinese government, Taipei or Taiwan, that owns the Cultural Center building on Mauna Kea Street and South Maritania, to make improvements and have them participate in taking care of their building on our aina that's here in Hawaii. So,
I can answer that question real quick.
okay, because then you can help him
No,
get the
real quick,
communication.
Real quick, I don't want to,
Real quick.
yeah, all right. Well, first of all, you know that the Chinatown Cultural Plaza is owned by the Taiwan government.
That's right.
And it's via the China Airlines because of the fact that China is owned by the government. I know that Mayor Blangiardi, and he's been great trying to build up Chinatown, is trying to work with that group. And the Director General now, and I think Senator Chang knows him too, Jerry Chang would be also, they're sending a delegation here to try and remedy all the problems we have with that area. Because we want to develop the Riverwalk, just like in San Antonio, Chicago. But yes,
Good.
I'm working
Okay,
with the city.
Good, yeah.
Thank you
Anyway.
very much.
No,
Have
no,
them
no.
rebuild the building. They need help.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Question.
Oh, Senator Decort.
Thank you. Thank you, Wesley, so much for being here. Thank you for making a very diligent attempt to meet with me. I apologize with the calendar conflict, but
Not at all.
I appreciate the attempt. My question is very simple. Why would you want to step down from the Ethics Commission to pursue membership on this board, which is also very important?
Actually, in 2 months, I would have been forced out. My tenure ends after 2 terms, as one being the chair, in June of
In
this
June
year.
anyway.
Yeah, so that's when I was talking to the governor. He says, "You're finishing? How about continuing on?" I said, "Well, if I can be of service and I'm of benefit, I'll be more than happy to." That's been my mantra. Let me tell you my last mantra. It's not, your value is not how long you live, but how much you contribute. And if you look at my resume or my bio, my mother always told me, you got to give back.
Thank you for that. I would just like to state for the record, and I'm happy to hear that you're still staying in public service. But I have been very impressed by your work on the Ethics Commission, and in just continuing to look into the work that you've done in the Ethics Commission. You have really tried to pursue anti-nepotism laws in the legislature and also in the judicial branch. Also, you were quoted in a 2024 article saying that ethics is the cornerstone of good and honest government. If you can't trust your state officials, who can you trust? And I think it's very important that we have somebody that has that kind of integrity, somebody that has that kind of moral values. I wish I could split you up and put you on different commissions and different boards.
Say that would be a felony.
Oh, yeah, okay. But it's also probably not very ethical either. I do really want to thank you for continuing your public service, and thank you very much for your time that you have spent on the Ethics Board. I've watched it, and I will continue to watch, and I believe that you being here will be an addition to this commission. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. I feel very humbled by your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
There's no further questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dennis, tell the governor, where did you find him? This is a perfect
I
fit for
know.
his commission. Thank you.
Let's move on to GM 769, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, gubernatorial nominee Patrick Bronco for a term to expire 6/30/2030. And testifying first on GM 769 is the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Karen Ewald, the Executive Director for the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, and we stand in strong support and stand on a written testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll also have testimony from the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, my name is Sam Kim with the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. We're testifying in strong support of Mr. Patrick Bronco's confirmation, standing on a written testimony. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify on GM 769. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Hearing none. Any questions? All right, hearing none. I believe our nominee is on Zoom, so congratulations on your nomination. Please proceed.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, the committee. I apologize for not being there in person. Currently on temporary military orders on the East Coast, but will be returning shortly. My prior experience, many of you are my former colleagues, but before that, I actually did a lot of public diplomacy work and was the cultural attaché in Embassy Caracas before the embassy got closed. Did a lot with the Fulbright, bringing cultural exchanges, art, etc. But thank you for considering me. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any questions for the nominee?
Well, Patrick, maybe now you can stay home a little longer. You've been traveling a lot.
Yes, thank you, Senator.
Yeah, well, good luck to you, and thank you for your service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. With that, if there's no further questions, let's move on to the next GM 770, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, gubernatorial nominee Makanani Salah for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Testifying first on GM 770 is the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts.
Good afternoon. The State Foundation on Culture and the Arts submits their strong support and testimony and strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everyone who had signed up to testify on this measure. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Oh, please come forward. Good afternoon.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Noinoi Wong Wilson. I am pleased to see Dr. Makanani's name on the agenda for confirmation. I know her well and have worked with her in her past experiences at the county when she was teaching at the Windward Community College, and also when she and her husband organized the FestPac festival a few years ago, and I strongly support her nomination to this committee. I think she will add some good layer of Hawaiian culture and what that means for us statewide to this foundation. So mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify on GM 770? Hearing none, are there any questions? And hearing none, thank you. Why don't we move on to our nominee? Good afternoon and congratulations on your nomination.
Congratulations.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Antinoi, thank you very much for those rousing words. In my previous life, I did a very similar job to Director Ewald at the county. Funny enough, it actually did include Sister City. We had a little bit of a wider berth, not as deep in arts, but we also did cover arts and culture. And I think the thing that I always lean back on is public-private partnership and the ways that SFCA can help other governmental departments do their jobs better or help them when they need expertise. And so I think that's what our goal will be.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the nominee?
Yes.
Vice Chair.
And Noi, I know her very well, but she mentioned Westpac. Is that the conference that came and was on the Big Island?
Yes.
It's what?
Oh, no.
No. Where did they go first?
FestPac,
Oh, the Oahu.
yeah, the one at the
Yeah.
convention center.
And
Yeah.
that was several years ago.
2024, we did FestPac. It was about 3,000 people from 28 different countries.
And
who
I
came in.
understand there may be possibility of returning or,
Actually, it moves
because
every.
that's an independent group, right?
It's an independent festival, and so it moves next. It's in New Caledonia, if I'm not, yeah, Noumea, New Caledonia, and that's in 2028. And the festival director is back there.
Oh, okay. So internationally, they move around then.
Internationally, they take turns between Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. And so,
Because that was a very successful
yeah,
event here.
we had a great time. I think there's not as many times that we are able to celebrate the smaller nations in Oceania. So this was such a fun festival to bring to light all the amazing things that these, what we look at as tiny nations are doing philosophically and materially.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next measure, GM 767, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission, gubernatorial nominee Miles Miyasato for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Testifying first on GM 767 is the Land Use Commission. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair Lee, Vice Chair MIA, members of the committee. Dan Ardanker, Executive Officer for the Land Use Commission. We stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you.
Oh, and just one thing, I did attend FestPac last year. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you. Up next, signed up to testify again is the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters.
Well, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, my name is Sam Kim, with the Hawai'i Regional Council of Carpenters. We're going to be standing on our written testimony in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. And signed up on Zoom is Avalon Development Company.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on GM 767? Hearing none, are there any questions?
No.
Hearing none, thank you. Why don't we go ahead and bring up our nominee? Good afternoon, Mr. Miyasato. Congratulations on your nomination. Oh, you're
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair, committee members. First of all, I apologize for not being present in person. We had booked this trip a while ago, so I'm not able to be there. Also, just hope to do my best and uphold the integrity of our commission. And thank you for considering my nomination.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the nominee?
I have.
Oh, Vice Chair.
Yeah. Hi, Miles. How are you?
Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a question, because this is your second term coming up, right?
I had,
First term.
I believe I had filled a remainder
Oh, you
of
were
a vacant,
filling a vacancy then?
correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Was that 2 years?
1 year, and then 1 year was a carryover.
Oh, okay. So you've been there for a couple of years.
Yes.
Okay. There's many, since the wildfire on Maui, and there's been a lot of activity here between the Senate and the House with regards to housing. And our housing chair, Senator Chang, has been working real hard with regards to creating and ensuring that we proceed with assisting the development, not only on Maui, but also changing our rules and laws with regards to housing in its entirety throughout the state. Has there been any particular issue that has been bothersome to land use, working with the counties, or just a question to ask because you've been there 2 years?
You know, it's a really hard question to answer because during my 2 years, unfortunately, well, not really unfortunately, but majority of our petitions that have come before us mainly was petitions that were already entitled and they just came for extensions. So, you know, in that regard, for your question, we haven't come across any problems.
Okay, so no changes to the laws that Land Use Commission administers or to make life much easier for the dedication of increasing our capacity in housing?
No, because we have to stay within our guardrails, yeah, of protection and preservation. So, we pretty much mandated to that.
Okay, well, another question too is that I've been sort of a planner on a planning commission in Hawaii County as well, but you know, there's an opportunity to make sure that there's laws that hopefully we can review and work with the administrator as well on trying to ease up some of our permitting system or working with the counties to ensure, you know, that things move out faster. You know, oftentimes we hear that government is very slow in doing the work, but okay, that means that there hasn't been very controversial issues then with the commission, and I'm sure, you know, Dan has been actually making a lot of changes in the past years to make sure that we don't delay in providing necessary housing, so that we don't see too many of our residents exiting outside of Hawaii. Okay, thank you, and thank you for your service. Good luck. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Zakor.
Thank you, Miles, for again your interest in serving. With the chair's indulgence, I have 3 questions, if you don't mind. But my first question is, many of your supporters who had came out to testify pointed out your background in construction and development. How do you ensure that perspective doesn't lean you towards approving projects, especially when the impacts on communities are still unresolved?
Well, like I had just previously mentioned, we operate within strict guardrails and guidelines under the HRS and administrative rules, and we're bound by the public, you know, to uphold the public trust doctrine. So I don't think there's not much room for us outside of the guardrails at all.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up question, Chair. And for areas like my district, as example, we are dealing with real limits. We have one road in, one road out, strained infrastructure, and safety concerns. In your view, should the Commission approve new development in places where the infrastructure clearly cannot support additional growth?
If it clearly cannot support additional growth, then no. Probably wouldn't get my vote. I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but.
Thank you for that. And then my last question, thank you, Chair and members. You've spoken about the need for housing, but is any housing the right kind of housing if it puts more pressure on already strained systems? Should the Commission be willing to deny projects when roads are inadequate, water systems are uncertain, or emergency access is limited?
Yes, all those conditions need to be satisfied and presented before us. It's the obligation of the petitioner.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Further questions? Thanks for the commentary. I had just 2. You know, there were a number of bills this year considered by the legislature that would have changed the powers of the Land Use Commission or expanded its ability to do different things, or expanded the power of counties and others to do things in the same realm as the Land Use Commission. And some of those were running into concerns and opposition from various members of the, I think it's fair to say, agricultural sector about loss of potential ag lands and things like that. And so those measures didn't make it. But I guess as that conversation continues, because it appears to be coming up more and more each year, how do you balance the need for agricultural interests in that industry and local food production and that sort of thing against the need for development and other land uses?
Well, I think we already have safeguards in place for important ag lands. I think a lot of those ag lands are, privately owned. So I don't think they have the infrastructure to develop. First of all, well, it depends on what county you're talking about. It's a whole different answer for different counties. I'm thinking of Big Island, where there's no infrastructure to support major developments on ag land unless you're going to install your own infrastructure. It's not just build and tap in. So depending on what county you're talking about, a lot of it is self-regulating. But I guess other than that, well, Honolulu, I think you're very limited in space already. But ag is always going to have to. I mean, I'm a rancher, so I cannot see giving up my ranch for a subdivision. We need ag. We need ag in Hawaii, but it has to be sustainable. And I think that's where government comes in to help make it sustainable and make it productive, which is the hardest part of the equation.
Well, I guess let me ask it this way. Part of the discussions that took place here at the legislature and various committees revolved around this very question. But would you support having a position on the commission that is specifically from the ag industry to help, I think, sort through some of those questions so that they don't end up, blowing up later on, I guess?
Having a position from the ag, you mean appointed by Department of Ag?
Yeah, it could be a number of things, but I guess somebody representing the agricultural industry on the commission so that there's a perspective there.
I guess if it's the will of the legislature, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just say just keep it fair. Commissions are for the general public to participate, so just keep it fair. That's all. That's my only concern not as a commissioner, as a private citizen. Just keep it fair, and I would have no problem with any commissioner coming on board or nominee being a commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions from anybody? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Miyasato.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Well, let's move on to the next GM 766, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission gubernatorial nominee Melvin Kahele for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Testifying first on GM 766 is the Land Use Commission.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and IA members of the committee. The Land Use Commission stands on its testimony and support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We also have testimony signed up from, Mr. Gary Okuda. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Senators. I had privilege of serving 8 years on the Land Use Commission, and several of those years with Mel Kahele. Let me tell you this. We who were lawyers tried to make sure we follow the law 100%. Mel made sure that the commission had an open mind, listened to everyone, took in all the evidence. Now, I know he has a strong background with union leadership. you could never tell that on the commission. He never favored or went against anyone just because of their affiliation. He really kept an open mind. In answer to one question I heard, he's also been supportive of some of the things the commission and especially executive directors tried to do. For example, getting a specific position to kind of like concierge or move existing projects that have been approved to fruition. Because there's many things that the commission can do, and Mel has actually been supportive of that. So I'd urge that you advise and consent to his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Signed up to testify next on Zoom is Avalon Development Company.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
And I think in the room, signed up on Zoom, but in the room with us, Mr. Goliu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Michael Gloria Jr., he, him pronouns. I'm here in my personal capacity to advocate in strong support of Mel Kahele. Makakilo, my community, needs a strong voice on the Land Use Commission now more than ever, as we saw last night. I've known Mel for, 30 plus years? 40. Oh, I'm not that old. But yeah. He's a man that speaks his mind. He takes care of our community. He is a pillar of our community, and we definitely need someone like him who is willing to look out not just for construction, but also the INA. And he's done a great job, and I hope he will be able to continue that, to be that voice for our community as for the entire state on the Land Use Commission. So I encourage you to advise and consent to his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on GM 766? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee, Vice Chair Inouye, and committee members. My name is Cliff LeBoy. I'm here on behalf of T. George Paris Iron Workers Union Stabilization Fund and also Building Trade Council. You heard the good talks about Mel. Mel's a good straight up guy. He will definitely do a good term. He's just finishing his first term. We come here with 18 signatory unions, 34,000 construction workers, all supporting Mel. We ask you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify? Hearing none. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you. Let's bring up our nominee. Mr. Kahele, good afternoon. And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you, Chair Lee.
Good afternoon.
Vice Chair Inouye, members of the committee. Any questions? No, I appreciate the governor nominating me and me being up front of the fine committee here. I spent 4 years almost on the Land Use Commission. I've learned a lot. I have a strong background in labor. I've sat on many trust funds. I've sat on Hawai'i Housing Finance Development Corp for 8 years. And I think the almost 4 years that I've sat on the Land Use Commission, we've accomplished some stuff that I believe the other commissioners have not accomplished. They actually hired a person to dig up all of the old stuff that's been pending for like 20 years. It's been resurrected, and some of the stuff that this employee has resurrected, actually some of it got approved finally. There was one, I believe, that was in the files for 27 years. So, we've accomplished some stuff there, and I ask for your guys' support.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the nominee? Senator DeCourt.
Hi, Mel. Good to see you.
Hi,
Thanks for being
Senator.
here. Yes, so I'm going to bring up a topic that you know very well, the landfill. As you know, the city has proposed a new site out in Waianae, West Oahu. And the intention, I guess, is not to extend Waimanalo Gulch, but is to make it a new site, which we all know is a lie. They are literally extending Waimanalo Gulch, but I think that if they try to put a new name on it, that the public is not going to be inclined to be intelligent enough to identify that this is in fact an extension of Waimanalo Gulch. So with you being on the Land Use Commission, you guys are a part of these discussions. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on maybe what the Land Use Commission can do to hold the city more accountable. I mean, they're at this place where they are, in my opinion, strong-arming the landowners to say, if you don't sell it to us, then we're going to condemn it. Again, forcing West Oahu to carry the burden of another landfill, perpetuating probably another 30 more years of Waianae being the dumping grounds. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Senator. You did a great job last night.
Oh.
I was on virtual watching the entire show, actually the entire meeting. Senator, I live on the west side for almost 50 years, and I understand what's going on. I understand all about what's happening with all these landfills. I'm not sure that I would be able to answer these questions because they're going to come to the Land Use Commission, and I don't want to conflict myself. If I'm going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to have to recuse myself from a vote that I might be asked to vote on an issue regarding the expansion or the extension. I really want to be part of that vote, but I understand completely what's happening out there, and
Yeah, and I think that you have made public remarks to your views, maybe your personal views on landfills out on the Waianae coast. But I want to ensure that the Land Use Commission not only is in lockstep with the community, which I know that you are out in West Oahu, but then also that the city is being held accountable to, number one, a promise that was made by the city over and over again to the people on the Waianae coast that there will be no more landfills in West Oahu, but then also to really maybe help the city to find another site, because again, we will perpetuate for another 30 years that we will hold this stereotype in our community, and it really is not fair for our community, and the city has not made any attempts to have other options for our trash. So what happens when this landfill is full? Then what?
yes, so Senator, I believe some of the people here, some of the senators that were here several years ago, when the buffer zone bill got passed, Act 73, we were, and Uncle George Parrish from the Iron Workers Local 625 Staff Fund, he was the one that actually got senators to draft the bill. And it got passed, and now it requires any landfill, any dump out there to be a half mile away from schools, from churches, residents. So I'm just going to leave it at that, so you know exactly my thoughts and my feelings about landfills. Then again, I don't want to put myself where I'm going to have to disclose that I'm going to be conflicting in a vote that I might be having to take at the commission. So, yeah, look at my history. But I really appreciate the questions and the concerns. Like I said, I've lived up there many years, and I know what our community is going through.
Great. And yes, I don't want you to have to recuse yourself, and I know that you hear very closely what the frustration of our community. You've been following this thing longer than I have, so I know that you are maka'ala to everything that our community is going through. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions?
Senator?
Well, I was going to say thank you for the service that you've had in the last several years and your confirmation. I was happy that you got back into being on the Land Use Commission as well at that time on your first confirmation process.
Thank you, Senator.
But I certainly, looking at the commission setup, I think it was appropriate at that time that we had the construction industry within the system, and the commission. And we just thank you for, your past couple of years, and good luck to the next service.
Thank you, Senator Inouye. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank
Other
you.
questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Kahele.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, let's move on to the next measure, GM 740, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority gubernatorial nominee Michelle Noinoe Wong Wilson for a term to expire 6/30/2029. And testifying first on GM 740 is the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority. Mr. DeFries, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chair Lee, Vice Chair Inouye, members of the committee, I submitted written testimony and stand by that testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also testifying on GM 740, Canada, France, Hawaii Telescope. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My testimony will be for GM 740 and 741. So thank you, Chair Lee, Chair Inouye, and committee members. My name is Jean-Gabriel Kubi. I am the Executive Director of Canada, France, Hawaii Telescope. I stand by all the elements I provided in my written testimony in support to the confirmation of Dr. Noinoe Wong Wilson and Rich Matsuda. I want to emphasize the strong support that Mauna Kea observatories attach to the MKSOA process and to its leadership. The success of MKSOA and of the trust building process is essential for the future of astronomy. Thank you for your support to astronomy, and thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Up next is the Mauna Kea Observatories. Good afternoon.
Wakako, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Ilihia Johnson on behalf of the Mauna Kea Observatories. You have our written testimony. I wanted to call out that the written testimony in strong support of MKSOA Vice Chair Dr. Noinoe Wong Wilson is signed by 9 directors of the Mauna Kea Observatories. Just one more demonstration of the strong support of the observatories of the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority. We understand that that is the convening point where community, astronomy, and all the folks who love Mauna Kea can come together to find a bright future and a path forward. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. We also have on Zoom, Leimomi Khan.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, that's everyone who had signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Oh, please come forward.
Aloha, Makanani Salah, community member. I just wanted to say that I think in the past 50 years, there's been no other hot button issue as big for the Native Hawaiian community as Mauna Kea, as we all know. And so to have someone like Dr. Noinoe, who speaks fluent university, is upheld in the community culturally, and who can move within all of these spaces equally, I think is very important, not just for the operation, but for the trust of the community as well. So in strong support.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify? Seeing none. Any questions for the testifiers? Hearing none. All right, why don't we bring up our nominee? Congratulations on your nomination.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm pleased to be here today from Hilo. I was a little worried if I was going to get here because I understand Hawaiian Airlines doesn't always fly when the volcano is erupting, but thankfully
That's true.
That settled down. I appreciate this opportunity to address you directly and hope that you can see that what we were able to demonstrate on Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority is really a coming together of different interests in our community that, as you know, started with very difficult times when our community felt strong enough that they had to stand on the road to block a project. And that has turned around due to the wisdom of the legislature, our government support, and the community to come together where we have this authority, which is, of course, in its infant stages, as you know. Only 3 years that we've been actively establishing the authority, and the first time a government agency has been created from scratch since the 80s, I believe. A daunting challenge, but I hope you can see that we have made significant progress in putting our administration together, bringing in the people that we need to move forward and being able to meet the goals that are set out for us by Act 255 and the establishment of the authority. So you can see from the support that I have from a community, but also from the astronomy community. Back in 2019, I don't think I ever dreamt that would occur. But we've come a long way because we are there for the same reason, and that's to make sure that Mauna Kea will be there for generations, and that we can, when good minds come together at the table, we can resolve problems and issues rather than have our community be torn apart by them. So I really hope to receive your support, and the support not only of myself, but the other members who are seeking reconfirmation, and for the authority in general in the work that we have to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the nominee?
I have.
Let me,
Yeah, she can.
sure. Senator Court, followed by Vice Chair.
Thank you so much. Yes, and thank you for flying here. We appreciate you being in person, so thank you so much. My question is, there is a few more years on the deadline for the transitional plan, and I just wanted to maybe see where you folks were at. You might not be able to give me too much details, but primarily, like when it comes to like staffing, rulemaking, management plan, operational control, those kinds of things. What can you tell us today?
Our management plan is well underway. We expect to have it completed by the end of summer, I believe, is the deadline for that. The administrative rules, we're in the process of putting a consultant in place to be able to put that together for us. We're also taking on the responsibility of a comprehensive EIS, which we know will be required in the future in order to, reconsider or to consider new leases and things of that sort. So rather than wait, we're taking those steps. But things take time, as you know, through the purchasing system or the procurement system. But those are the key pieces that are underway right now. So I know that there's some consideration in another bill that's still alive in the legislature to perhaps give us a little bit more time for the administrative rules to complete that in time. And barring any unexpected or unforeseen circumstance, we fully intend to meet the deadlines that are set out for us.
Okay, thank you. And not holding this to anything, but do you feel confident in that 2028 deadline might potentially be completed sooner? Or
The
we're
management
gonna...
plan for sure.
Okay.
We'll be pushing to get the administrative rules in place. And then the EIS is not something that was required of us, but something we're launching to do. And we're doing this all with a great understanding of what got us here in the first place, right? To make sure that the EIS is comprehensive, that it is done in a manner that our community feels confident that everything has been done the proper way and with their mana'o in mind. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the service that you've had provided already at the outset.
Thank you.
And, keep on doing the job that is required, and much appreciated. One of my concerns, seriously, looking at the reports of the annual reports to the legislature annually. And one of the issues that sort of kind of bothers me as well is the report of 2026, and I think this is regarding the 2025, I take it back, so the year 2025. And one of the concerns, and I tend to agree with the university as well, is the financial stability planning. And with a reduction in the federal funding, the impacts, on the reductions that affect the university research on the stewardship operations, and is still emerging. But the funding, I understand from the university with regards to the RTRF, which is the training, the research and training revolving fund, but that the Center for Mauna Kea, the CMS, has received in years past, but it ceased already. So they're not getting any of the funding. But the concern I have is for this year, the forecast is without the replacement of the funding, the transition that CMS is supposed to be doing is assisting MKOS in doing the work. So that's one of my concerns, is that that CMS, I understand, is already in a deficit. And so, and we're talking about already for this period, $62,000 and more deficit forecast for next year, and it goes in the millions of dollars. So the university and MKOS, share the mutual interest, because in ensuring that the reductions in the research part do not impact current services provided by CMS, because you already are proceeding and they've been working with the transition period to assist you folks. And so part of the Act of 255 is, calling for the equitable funding during the transition period. So it kind of bothers me. But with regards to the university and the staff as well, in your discussions for the options for the share operational cost for the remainder of the transition period is a concern. But I understand that you folks, the board, and Executive Director DeFries reported in your December 2025 meeting that that this particular issue would be considered at your January 2026 meeting. So where are you folks at this point? And John, you can come up in case you need to share something.
Sure.
But if things have been ongoing, because, without having a good transition period to assist you folks in making sure the issues with regards to the deadlines and your mission, getting there is pretty important. And so we want to make sure that CMS gets its actual funding to be in that operation.
So last month, the authority voted to assist with that by transferring $4.5 million. Is that
4.8.
$4.8 million.
That's for this year.
For this
Effective May 2026 for all of next fiscal year,
Yes.
14 months.
to make up the deficit that you're talking about on the university side.
Okay, now with that said, does it go down to the university? Because they're the managing part, so you will give the funds to the university then?
Correct.
Oh, okay. But they have they received the monies yet?
Actually, it is going before their Board of Regents in a special meeting that I believe will be scheduled on May 7 for approval. We're expecting it to get approved by the Board of Regents.
Okay, so you've already notified the university
Oh, yes.
that the monies, the funding is forthcoming?
Right.
Correct.
And there was
Okay.
board action this past month.
Oh, okay, and the board is to decide then?
And
I mean, it's
They have to
coming up for
accept
their,
it. Yeah,
up on their agenda item?
yes.
Yeah, our request of CMS was, what is it going to take to keep the same level of service and the same staffing level. And so we've been working on this for quite a while.
Since
And
2025.
then the situation got aggravated with the federal cuts.
Cuts, right,
Yeah.
right. And that's kind of concerning to
Sure.
me at this point. Now, on the financial side, right now, what is your budget?
14 million less the restriction.
But so right now, you still have $14 million?
No. That was our total fiscal year. We'll end up,
Yeah, because you got the first 14 million.
Right.
You didn't get the second 14 million.
we did,
You did?
yes.
And no restriction from the
No,
governor?
there was a restriction that took us to 12.3, I think.
So
it
you're
was.
cut back to 12 million?
Yeah.
And that's what you're operating for
Correct.
now, for the last, so you're there 3 years, so, or 2.5 years, so you've got that amount. Okay, so that's what you're going to use then to give to the university to make sure that CMS continue to operate for this transition period? Okay, okay. That was my question. And I'm happy that it's kind of moving and being on the university's agenda, on the Board of Regents, you know, as well. Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you so much.
Further questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
One other thing, in my letter of support for her, I said I'd known her for 50 years. She was 5 years old when I met her.
And you are for?
Well, let me say, when Noe and moved over from Oahu to the Big Island, yeah, we, contribution of, and she continues to do that since she's lived in Kaiviki as well, above where I was born.
Okay, let's move on
thanks,
to
moving on.
GM 741, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority gubernatorial nominee Richard Matsuda for a term to expire 6/30/2029. And testifying first on GM 741 is the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority.
Chair and Vice Chair, members of the committee, John DeFries, I stand by the testimony submitted on behalf of nominee Matsuda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Matsuda.
Up next is Canada, France, Hawaii. Okay, stand on that testimony then. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also Mauna Kea Observatories.
Aloha ho kako, Chair, Vice Chair Committee. Ilihia Johnson again for the Mauna Kea Observatories in strong support of the nomination of Rich Matsuda to continue his service as the astronomy representative on the MKSOA. You have the written testimony, again, signed by 9 directors of the Mauna Kea Observatories. And I just want to highlight that, you know, Rich has been such a fantastic conduit between the observatories and the authority. We feel very well represented, and just the amount of work that he's put in to the authority and truly engaging with community around our island, across Hawaii. You know, we really appreciate all the work that he's been putting into this, and thank you for your consideration for confirming him for another term. Mahalo nui.
Thank you.
That's everyone who had signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on GM 741? Hearing none. Let's bring up our nominee. Good afternoon and congratulations on your nomination.
Mahalo. Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, and Rich Matsuda. Just want to thank the governor for nominating me and to the committee for considering my nomination. Just had a few words to say about, well, let me just add something about my co-nominee here, Noinoe Wong Wilson, that it's been a pleasure to work with her in advancing the goals of the authority. But we have very, very important work to do. As one of the prior testifiers said, the Mauna Kea issue has been one of the biggest issues for the state. And together with community astronomy observatories, we need to find a positive way forward for the Mauna, for the community, for astronomy. and I'm very dedicated to doing that. I have 32 years of experience working on the mountain for my employer, Keck Observatory. Also am a third generation Kama'aina. So, you know, the conflicts that we felt in community touched me deeply, which caused me to step up and serve. I talked about the hard work we have ahead of us to complete this transition, and so I felt it was very important to continue my service if I do get approved. Open to any questions, but I feel very strongly about the work and the importance of the work and to continue it and to complete it. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for the nominee?
I have
Sure.
questions.
Sure.
Rich, with Keck Telescope
Yes.
and the remaining, those that with soon to expire leases.
Yes.
Keck you're one of the 5?
I think there's 10.
There's 10.
Yes.
But the most immediate lease expiration, how many of the 10?
Everyone finishes at 2033, so
All 10?
So under the current lease, the University of Hawaii has the master lease.
Right.
And then those of us who are not University of Hawaii telescopes have subleases with
Right,
the
right.
university who holds the master lease. Everything is coterminous 2033, December 2033.
So with that said, my understanding is that, hopefully the future continues.
Absolutely.
And which is important to the world, actually, of the service that telescopes do, providing the kinds of unimaginable things on the operations that comes from telescopes.
Yeah.
So with that said, now with the future of, with the bill that's before us also gives some leeway, we hope, that would provide some, leeway so that there's time for all of you, the 10, I guess, to address your financial status, which is kind of concerning to me, which is a short period.
Yeah.
So hopefully there are still interests in remaining on the island,
Absolutely, and
on the Mauna
yep.
especially.
The observatories would like to see the lease issues and the, certainty for the future to be resolved as soon as possible. At the same time, we understand that this transition is happening and we have to work with the authority to figure out the pathway forward. But getting leases to get certainty for the future is a definite concern. And we're very willing to work with the authority to get there. I think there's a couple things that are positive about what's going on right now, which is, Noe mentioned the working on the EIS, so this comprehensive EIS,
Sure.
which is a long lead item to getting towards the lease, because we've got to, abide by Chapter 343.
Yes.
So that getting started, which very close now with the authority to getting the professional services to assist the authority to.
So you're going to contract it out, or that's
Yeah.
the plan?
Yeah.
Of contracting
Yeah.
the services for the EIS
Yes.
application process?
Yep, and to do a comprehensive EIS rather than observatory by observatory, because it's, the impact is comprehensive as well. That'll help get the ball rolling for that. And then we got to work with the observatory's got to work with the authority to figure out the lease term structure. And I think as long as we continue to make progress on that, steady progress, then the concern about the long-term uncertainty is that concern is lessened as
Sure.
long as we're making progress. So
Okay.
working hard towards
Do you know if
that.
well, I guess I shouldn't be projection on the EIS application. So because you got 10, now, is the EIS, and I can't remember what the law applies, if it's the individual EIS for each telescope, or can it be into the entire well if it's on that footprint?
Right.
Or
We're-
do you know? And
we're trying to do it-
Maybe doctor could understand, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but
We're trying to do it comprehensively with, and.
the entire,
Yes.
all of them, all in one time?
Yeah,
Okay, that
and-
makes more sense
Right.
because you're talking about deadlines.
And to provide enough flexibility in how and this is why we're hiring contractors, because on the authority, we need to figure this out, is providing enough flexibility to not circumvent the management planning effort that's going on to figure out the footprint of astronomy.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just a word of caution, yeah, because you are representing Keck Telescope, you're not representing Keck Telescope on the commission, on
Absolutely.
MQOS, because you are the representative
For all of us.
Yes,
Correct.
of the nature of that appointment,
Right.
representing the telescopes.
Yeah.
So just to make clear on the ethical issues when the application process starts, then just remember, get your ethical, because you are a Keck Telescope
Absolutely.
person. So
Yeah.
just make sure going
Yeah, I need
future,
to
talk about
disclose
that.
and.
Exactly.
And et cetera, yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Yeah, that's all, and good luck, because
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
very important. The industry has provided an unbelievable school kids that have visited, the Mauna and the telescopes for all the years that I remember, and continue to do that, and that some of the students are in school at the campus in astronomy, and I know some of them who visited, and now they're attending college in astronomy, and we're talking about the future and all that you folks have provided, for Hawaii Island and the state, and I would say in the world. Now, interesting, I am not sure, now, the OHA funding that you guys have been paying, is that because of the 20%? Why are we paying OHA all the millions of dollars annually financially?
OHA?
Yeah. According to the report, yeah. Yeah, come on up then, no. And I'm wondering if it's because of the 20%, because fiscally, there's a lot of money that has been going to OHA. And for the 2025, they already got $331,000, and then $9,000 for the fourth quarter, $320,000, and the payment of $11,000, and it continues on through the years. So is that you guys
So-
are entitled to the 20% to share with them? But
So
you're
at
not
the risk
getting
of
into.
answering on behalf of the University of Hawaii
Right.
and CMS, because that is their obligation to OHA, and we are in
No,
this
because-
transition period, we're still on our side of the line, so we're not directly involved with OHA payments, it doesn't come from us.
Okay, so it's because it was taken out of the expenditures from the special fund.
Right.
The management special fund, so now,
But that's the CMS.
correct.
funding,
So,
yeah.
but because the CMS is not getting the contributions, so are we do you know? Maybe we'll look forward to the university's reports then.
Yeah.
They should speak to that.
They should speak to that.
Oh, okay, all right. Good, that answers my question, because that has been on my questionable, so I'll just send a letter to the university, and they are entitled as well to give us the background, in which they did, and President Hansel, actually, this is one of the first I've seen coming from the university, and she did a good job in this report. And so I'm glad that I kind of brought it up and see why OHA and what is the agreement. So I was thinking that, are we obligated, because there's no income coming in to defray paying OHA, but this is big bucks. It's kind of like millions, annually. So, because if it'll continue, then transition, who's going to pay for it in the future as well?
Eventually, it will become our obligation, but yes, right now.
Yeah,
it's
because then,
universities.
where you guys are going to get the funding. I mean, I see with the income coming in from different areas. Okay, but I know we got one more, so I won't belabor the hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much. Okay.
Yes, Senator
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Thank you for making the attempt to stop by my office and chat with me very quickly. So you've got about 30 years of experience with working with the observatory. So I find that to be serving two potentials, right? Like you have operational knowledge, which is very valuable, but then also there could be the potential of like institutional habits or assumptions. And so with your experience and with your background, where do you think UH kind of like fell short? Like, how did we get here to this point? Was it enforcement? Was it community trust? Was it cultural integration? Like transparency? So you've been seeing this thing all the way through. So to prevent us from continuing the same bad habits, because that was why the legislature had formed, right? The Mauna Kea Stewardship Authority is to rebrand, re-everything.
Yeah, thank you for the question. In hearing your question, I go back to the Mauna Kea Working Group that was formed that eventually led to the legislation that formed the authority. And the impetus of that, forming that working group was a third-party report that talked about, that surveyed observatories, the community, and everybody about, and that the conclusion of that report was that the comprehensive management plan that the university had formed, they were essentially doing a good job of fulfilling the management actions overall, like it was given a good grade, and that the parts that were deficient in this third party's finding was the communication and involvement with the community, especially the Hawaiian community. And me taking part in that, because I was part of the working group along with Noi, heard that firsthand from some of the members in that working group of not feeling involved or not having a stake in some of the decisions that had been made over the years. And that is kind of why we ended up with, I think, because that working group report was the basis for some of the bill that went through to make the authority. So I think maybe to pinpoint one area is that maybe communication could have been better, involvement and decision-making of the community could have been better.
Thank you. And then just last follow-up, Chair. I understand that you folks are going to different communities and getting that input and that involvement. How much of the community input are you going to be implementing in your plan moving forward? Because, and I'll just caveat this with, and I'll let you answer, because sometimes I feel like these town halls could potentially be to sensationalize the community and make them feel like they're a part of something. Next thing you know, they go back to the table and all the plans have changed. I do believe in your board members. I have a constituent that is on your board that makes sure that our lahui is very relevant and we do have a seat at the table. So, just for the question again, how much of that community input will you be implementing?
Thank you so much for the question. I think learning from the past, if we were to draft a management plan, then go get input, then it feels like the input doesn't matter so much. So we're very conscious, and with the help of our planning consultants, to go get the input first so that it can get built into the plan. So part of the, so everything that got said there was recorded either on charts or through voice recording and put into a database. Whether or not we can include every single comment is one thing, but at least we can make sure that it's considered and that we take all of that seriously. So that's definitely part of the process. There were over 1,500 people who attended these engagement meetings, and I think over 180 submitted kind of surveys or input sheets for that. So we take it very seriously. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
I'd like to make a statement. I disagree with what you said earlier. Just to get the record straight, and I've been involved with this Mauna issue since I was on a planning commission back in the 70s. I just want to say that I was one in opposition, as well as my predecessor, Manalma Solomon, who always argued against the management under the university at that time, back in the 80s as well, and into part of the 90s. I was also responsible for claiming that the management team were not successful and didn't do a good job as well at that time. Several years later, under Barry Taniguchi, and I'm telling you, I think he's turning in his grave, but he understood the issue because the president, Senator, he and I created a bill to reform the management part with the university. And of course, under a different president at that time, we felt very passionately that things should be changed. However, the leadership after that, knowing, and we actually did not hear the bill just to understand that the university was going to make some changes, and which they did. Under Barry Taniguchi, and a new organization created CMS, and it was under another name. And until today, they are doing a very good job in managing that particular issue. So the creation of what you're talking about, the task force, was not even created by legislature. Probably a particular person, but we did not know there was a task force deciding how you're going to reorganize under this new Act 155. So just to say that, and I do know, and we all know that I was the only opposition against the bill, including DLNR management team, because we had some faults with the bill. It's unconstitutional. It's still going through some unconstitutional review. But just to let you know, though, that under CMS, there was no reason why we created MQS. For the record, I will continue to say that in these next several years, but we'll have to make things better because, as I say, the contribution of astronomy, we were part of the groups that said we want the astronomy school moved to Hawaii Island. It was always rejected, but at least we have that motion in place now where we have the educational part to continue the education on astronomy. And so with that said, for the record, and I'll end with that, but because we already have established, let's just make things right.
Yep.
And Pono, okay?
Sure.
So, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the final GM on the agenda, GM 739, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority gubernatorial nominee Paul Horner for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Testifying first is the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority.
Chair, Vice Chair, members, I stand by my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is the Mauna Kea Observatories.
We also stand on a written, Chair.
Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify on GM 739. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Hearing none. Why don't we bring up the nominee? Good afternoon. Congratulations.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hearing me. During my first term as a member of the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, I was selected for my business and hospitality leadership in the state of Hawaii. So I was very interested in it because, you know, I'm native Hawaiian, born and raised in Waimanalo, but we love the Mauna. And so when I got called, I raised my hand and I wanted to do it. I fell in love with it. And the best thing about the Mauna Kea Stewardship group is that we have a wide variety of different personalities there, but never once during this process had there been any hooky or anything. Everybody is working. We're all paddling in the same canoe with all these diverse backgrounds. And that's why I love working with the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority. During this process, I'm a member of the Transition Working Group with Ben Kudo. And that's the group that's going to help to organize all the leases. And let me tell you, we have to contract a lot of attorneys to get all those leases looked at. But the leases, the inventories, the assets, and all the staffing levels to achieve our goals. And we're still in the process. And John DeFreeze, our executive director, he's been taking the first steps completed the first steps of the community meetings across the state. And so everybody has a voice across the state. And my personal goal is to achieve the date, July 1, 2028. That's going to be my personal goal. And the only way you can do it is through our Hawaiian values, ohana, respect, ha'aha'a with humility, wawi malamuda mauna.
All right, thank you very much. Are there questions for the nominee?
Yes, I have a question.
Vice Chair, followed by Senator DeCourt.
Okay. Hi, Paul, and thank you for your service at the outset when you were living here in the islands. When you were appointed, you were living in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Where is your residency now, for the record?
I have dual residence. I have a family home in Honolulu, and then I have another home in Arizona. And that came about because my oldest brother took ill. He had a stroke, and he lives close to Arizona, close to me in Arizona, so I can spend time with him as well. He's 8 years older than me, and
Where
so
do you spend most of your time?
right now in Arizona, but I am
My question
fervently.
is, all right, my question is, Paul, just to be
Yes.
clear and fair to the citizens of this island as well,
Mhm.
we're setting a precedent, even though the Attorney General may clear you that it's okay that you can live out of state. Now, one thing in vetting all these nominees that come before us, how do we clear it where if we're going to, the Senate is going to do vetting of any nominee going forward and not completely be a full-time resident of the island is unacceptable, well, to me personally. Now, I understand that the Attorney General says it's okay because you are filling a position that I thought it was more that I think the identification of the position that more of a financial background is what my understanding is.
Yes.
Because there are others that fill out already the cultural and the different areas of the commission. Now, with that said, there is troublesome, particularly from me as well, that this vetting system, we must look at it very carefully because that means that anyone out of another state can be a member of a board or commission. And that's totally not right. If the position that you're filling has to do with financing, I'm sure we can find somebody on the Big Island or even in my district in Hilo that has some financial background that should fill who live and work here. I'm surprised that even though that I guess MKOS has allowed you to do that because I think it's completely wrong. Now, I'm sorry, but even if you kept your dual membership or your dual citizenship being a resident of Hawai'i Island, I'm sorry that the governor decided that's okay as well. And I've been having some comments about that. Now, most of your visitation to participating in your meetings, has it been on Zoom or have you been here in person for all the meetings?
Well, I haven't been there in all the meetings, but I've only missed 5 meetings since the outset, 11/22/2022. I missed 5 meetings from that date till now.
Yeah.
For-
Have you ever considered just dropping off and having somebody else with ties to our islands who live and work here?
I have another plan. I'm applying for a job in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. I found a nonprofit organization that needs an executive director. So I'm in the process of,
Have you been hired?
not yet, not yet,
All
but
right.
I'm in the process.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but I will be voting against this nominee purely for the fact that I don't think the Senate, in any of its confirmation process, that should include residency, whether it's part-time or not at all, into the system, because it could happen to any other commissions. And it's just sending the wrong message that we don't have qualified people to manage and be at least appointed to positions on a full-time basis. As we all know, your job, the MKOES, has a lot of a lot of work to do. And I think it is just unconscionable for me to even understand that we don't have a full-time person as a representative of our island to sit on this commission as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Decort.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Paul, for your attempt to continue to serve. I also share in the concerns of my colleague as well. I do believe it's important that we have boots on the ground. I appreciate your attempt to make it at every meeting, but I believe at this point it's such a critical time for our lahui that we cannot afford to miss not one meeting. And I think that the standard that we as a body should be setting to all commission boards of all members is that it takes a real commitment, and it's important to be in the room, because when you're in the room, you feel a sense of what community is saying. You feel and you can see how people are responding and how people are reacting. I understand that you had to move to the continent because of family concerns. However, you sharing that you would be willing to come back here for a job, I would assume it would be a paying job, also is concerning for me, because I believe that what should bring you back to the islands is kuleana. And if being a member of this board, even though it's on a volunteer basis, it is kuleana. And what happens on this board will determine how we move together as Kanaka. And I do believe that you potentially stepping away from this position would be a respectable one, would be one that sends a message saying that the people on this board who are in person, it does send a very strong message. It's very respectable. It might be time to pass the torch, and not saying that any commitment that you have made has not made an impact. I do respectfully say this in the most honorable terms, so I don't want to be misunderstood about my statement. I know it has already taken a lot of commitment and sacrifice for you to contribute what you have. But I do feel very strongly that in person is very important. So in my colleagues' concerns, I also share the same sentiments and will also express that to the chair. So mahalo. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Horner. Without getting too much into the weeds on this, you said you were originally selected for a first term. Was that now several years ago?
Yeah.
Through that process, did you have a chance to speak with members of the legislature and
Yes.
through the same process?
Yeah.
And you were in Hawaii at that point?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further questions for Mr. Horner? All right, hearing none. Thank you, everybody. So we just went through a number of GMs. We're going to take a quick break so folks can go to the restroom, and we'll come back for decision-making shortly. Recess. Good afternoon. We're reconvening the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts on our 1 p.m. agenda here in State Capitol Conference Room 225 for decision-making on a number of governor's messages. Up first is Governor's Message 788, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Sister State and International Partnerships Commission, gubernatorial nominee Karen Knudsen, Knudsen, for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Recommendation is to advise and consent.
Chair's recommendation on GM 788 to advise and consent. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator Lamusau.
Aye.
Senator Decor.
Aye.
Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 789, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Sister State and International Partnerships Commission, gubernatorial nominee Wesley Fong for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Recommendation is to advise and consent. There's no discussion, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on GM 789 is to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any aye votes, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 769, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, gubernatorial nominee Patrick Bronco for a term to expire 6/30/2030. The recommendation is to advise and consent. If there's no discussion, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on GM 769 is to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 770, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, gubernatorial nominee Makanani Salah for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Recommendation is to advise and consent. There's no discussion, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on GM 770 is to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 767, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission, gubernatorial nominee Miles Miyasato for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Recommendation is to advise and consent. There's no discussion, Vice Chair.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on GM 767 to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 766, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission, gubernatorial nominee Melvin Kahele for a term to expire 6/30/2030. Recommendation is to advise and consent. If there's no discussion.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on GM 766 to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 740, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, gubernatorial nominee Michelle Noenoe Wong Wilson for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Recommendation is to advise and consent. There's no discussion.
Okay.
Vice
Chair's
Chair.
recommendation on GM 740 is to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to GM 741, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, gubernatorial nominee Richard Matsuda for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Recommendation is to advise and consent.
For the Committee on Water, Land, and Culture and the Arts, Chair's recommendation on GM 741 to pass to advise and consent with 4 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And finally, actually, quick recess. Reconvening the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts on our 1 p.m. agenda. We're in decision-making, moving on to our final measure, GM 739, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, gubernatorial nominee Paul Horner for a term to expire 6/30/2029. I'd like to recommend just deferring decision-making on this until Monday, the 27th at 1 p.m. Here in conference room 225.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we are adjourned.